Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to be making an antibiotic extract. But first I want to talk about some of the different herbs that you can use to make your extract or tincture depending on what you want to do. Now, one thing I forgot to say in my pain remedy extract video that I'll go ahead and link to up here, a couple things I forgot to say. That is to be taken internally. It's mostly for headaches and those kind of pains, and all tinctures are extracts, but not all extracts are tinctures. It can be kind of confusing understanding the difference. So what differentiates them is that a tincture is made with 80 proof alcohol and above, but if it's made with anything less than that, then it's simply known as an extract. Tinctures are going to give you a stronger result, meaning that it's going to be more full of all the benefits of the herbs that you put in there, but that also means that you will need to use less of it at a time. You know, anywhere from even a few drops up to possibly a tablespoon, depending on what type of tincture it is and what you need it for and who's taking it. So another thing I want to say right off the bat is you need to be careful of some of the different herbs if you're on medications and if you're pregnant. These are a couple things that you really want to double check into before you use these. Like feverfew, for instance, should not be used. A pregnant woman should not use feverfew. And certain other herbs can have interactions if you're on medications. However, remember, part of the reason we're doing this and that I share some of this information with you is to get us free from medications and big pharma drugs. So little by little, if we can get there, just like we did, Patrick and I, we stopped taking the over-the-counter pain remedies, we stopped taking our thyroid medication, we stopped taking allergy medications, and we didn't even do anything special for the allergy medications. We just quit taking them and found that our allergies got better without taking them on a daily basis. I want to share a video with you that we did a while back called Changing Your Mindset About Health and Healthcare. I really suggest that you watch that. I will link to that one right up here. Again, you can always click on that little eye when you see it, and you'll see the drop down menu, and you can go to that video at any time. You don't have to stop this one to get there. Now, let's get started on this. First, I want to talk about some of the different herbs that you can use. You can use oregano. You know, this is again going back to the fact that we're making an antibiotic here. You can use thyme. You can use echinacea. Other herbs that are high in antibiotic properties would be your garlic, your ginger, and raw honey is great. Now right here I have the antibiotic that I made last year. We've only actually needed to use it once, and that was when my son got an ear infection. He's 23 years old, or this was last year, so he was 22, and he comes in and says, "Mom, I have an ear infection. I've been battling it for 3 days." And I was like, "Well, why didn't you tell me?" I made an antibiotic just for these kind of occasions. So I gave him about a half of a shot glass, and that's all he took. And the next day I saw him, I asked him how it was going. He's like, "Oh yeah, it's gone, it's all better." After he'd battled it for 3 days, all he needed was a couple tablespoons tops of my antibiotic tincture, and it cleared it right up. So I know this works. Now what this is made out of is Nasturtium leaves. So that's what I'm going to use again today. Now you can do, I've seen people's recipes where they took a combination of oregano, thyme, rosemary, and like some other herb and made their tincture out of that, and that worked good for them. So basically what it comes down to is you got to find what herbs work best for you. What herbs can you grow easily on your own property, because this is going to save you a lot of money doing it that way where you don't have to buy them. All of these herbs here are herbs that I've grown here on my own property, so this is very cost effective for me. Now I know some people don't have gardens yet, or they're still working on their herb gardens. I will go ahead and put links down below to places to where you can buy some of these different herbs. I always buy in bulk because it's the best way to go for price. I'm not sure about the nasturtium leaves. I think if any place has it, if I can find some dried, pre-dried nasturtium leaves that are bagged, I'll go ahead and link to that below. My guess is Mountain Rose Herbs will probably have them. Usually if I can't find them on Amazon, I can find them on Mountain Rose Herbs. So the other thing I want to say too is it's also going to depend on if you have allergies to any of these herbs, what kind of mixture you want to make. Now, I'd eventually like to experiment and do some more, maybe try mixing some of these different herbs. However, I know the nasturtium leaf one works, so I'm sticking with this. But again, look into if you have allergies to maybe oregano or thyme or rosemary or even echinacea, you know, maybe you could have the nasturtium leaf. Or maybe you have issues with nasturtiums, or maybe you can't grow them, then these are some other options you can use. As I said in my last extract making video, the reason I'm going more for the extracts is because I can do them with wine or homemade vinegar, and it's a lot more sustainable for me, so I'm saving even more money because my wine and my vinegars are made from whatever I'm growing on my property, whether it be herbs, you know, peppermint vinegar is actually really good, or fruits or anything like that. So I'm going with the homemade wine. I'll be making some more wine. In fact, back here I have a batch I just started yesterday, and it's going a little bit berserk, of apple blueberry wine. And that's again apples and blueberries that we grow here. Okay, so I have two separate jars here, and what I'm going to do is fill this about half, maybe a little bit better than halfway full of my nasturtium leaves. I usually tend to go overkill when I'm adding herbs for my tinctures and extracts. I usually go up to 3/4, especially if I'm doing an extract, you know, where I know it's not going to be as strong, then I like to put a little extra in there just to be certain. So here we go. That's what it looks like in the jars. Okay, so now for the first one, I'm going to be using my homemade wine, just like I did in my headache or pain remedy video. And then I like to take my chopstick and push it down in there, mix it around, and it's going to start absorbing that alcohol. And then top it off some more, and I'll keep doing that until I got the jar totally full. So you're going to have to keep coming back and checking it. And again, I like to usually make bigger batches at a time, like quart jars, but I'm doing pints this time just because I'm making a couple of different ones and wanting to experiment a bit here. So this is why, people, I was telling you to be dehydrating those nasturtium leaves, why you had those coming in for you. Now, for the second one, this one I'm going to make an extract that'll be more suitable for children. And this one is going to involve some food-grade glycerin. You want to make sure you find non-GMO, okay? And food grade. I will go ahead and link to this below. The best value is to get 2 gallons. I know that sounds like a lot, but if you're going to be making a lot of extracts, especially if you want some that are totally alcohol-free, then glycerin is a good way to go. Not as sustainable, obviously. Now, when you do your glycerin-based extracts, you're going to need to add water to it. It's just going to work out a lot better for you. I've tried making a vanilla extract using just glycerin, and it didn't work out well, but when I did it half and half glycerin and vodka, that worked really good. And the glycerin is naturally sweet. It doesn't raise your glycemic level, and it gives it a little bit better flavor. So what I was going to say, because glycerin is so thick, you want about 1 part water in there. So that's probably all the water I'm going to need to add in there. I am going to put some more glycerin in there and just keep stirring it. Now, you could measure it out before you pour it in there, but because I don't know exactly how much I'm going to need until I get it into the jar, I don't really want to mix the water and the glycerin together first. Okay, this is looking pretty good. You just want to make sure it's liquidy enough. If it's too thick, it's not going to extract as well. That's why you have to have a little bit of water in there. Now, one thing about your alcohol-based extracts or tinctures is they're going to have a, especially if they're 80 proof alcohol, they're going to have a long shelf life. I would guess the wine-based ones would last just as long. But you know for sure if it's a high proof alcohol, it's going to last indefinitely. So it's also a good way you can preserve your homemade medicines. But I'm trying to, like I said before, I'm trying to look for two things. One, something that's both kid-friendly, which would be this one here, and something that's also more sustainable. Now, if it came right down to it and I couldn't get food-grade glycerin and I had to depend on what I have, then I can make vinegar-based extracts for children, and that would be a safe option where I'm not using wine or I'm not using vodka or rum or something like that. But typically the higher the alcohol content, the less of the actual extract that you need. Okay, so next I'm going to put my lids on here, and I want to make sure that I mark them with the date and what they are. So put your lids on tight and make sure that you shake them at least once a day. Okay, and then I also wanted to show you how the tincture looks when it is all finished. So that is what the color looks like. This was made with completely clear vodka when I made it. And then this is how the color looks like when it's all done. So this right here is the amount that I would typically take. This is just a little over a teaspoon. So when I'm taking my tinctures that are made with alcohol, this, you know, whether it be the pain ones or something else, this is how I like to start. A teaspoonful, I would say for children, half that much or less. Obviously, if it's alcohol, you got to really be careful with it. Now, if you're looking for an antibiotic that's more of a topical kind of thing, one thing I recommend is the Manuka honey. I'll go ahead and link to this below. I learned about this from Doug and Stacy. They did a video a while back. They had a cat that had its throat torn open, and they were sure the cat wasn't going to make it, but they started putting the Manuka honey on it right away, and it healed it right up. It was just really incredible. So I'll go ahead and see if I can find that video and link to it right up here because it's really quite fascinating. So I made sure to have myself a jar on hand of the Manuka honey for any kind of topical thing. That's the only thing I'll use it for. This isn't for eating because it's rather expensive. But you could also use regular, like your own raw honey. I really don't know fully what the difference is in benefits, why the Manuka is stronger. I haven't looked into it. But I also know that people use just their own honey, raw honey, because it does have its own antibiotic properties in it. So it's good honey is good internally and externally. But this is more, I decided since that works so well on on that cat, I thought this would be just really good to have on hand. And honey does not have a shelf life. It's lasts forever. It might crystallize over time, but that doesn't hurt it. You can always warm it gently and, you know, get it to melt down again. Again, I am not a doctor. I'm not a licensed nutritionist. I'm not a licensed herbalist. I'm just an average person who's been learning this stuff and working on learning this stuff actually since my teens. And the more I became aware of something being wrong with the way we're doing things, and just the desire for wanting to learn a better way of taking care of myself and my family, and then hopefully to pass that information on to others. This is why YouTube for me was such a great resource, and I finally got on board because I felt the need to reach more people and let them see that it can be done, just like us taking ourselves off of our thyroid medication. And if you're interested in knowing how we did that, I'll go ahead and link to that video right up here. I do just have a passion to really want to help people find their own way. And it doesn't even have to be exactly how I do it. This is just to give you some ideas to help get you on your way to better health and a more frugal and self-sustainable lifestyle. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.